But the rest of the region, I think, is really ripe. The conditions that were there in 2020 when President Trump and Jared Kushner and I and a few others negotiated the Abraham Accords, those conditions are there today. Very strong America, very strong Israel, rock-solid connection and alliance between Israel and America, and a weak Iran.
There could be an agreement encompassing Gaza. It reads, this victory presents an opportunity for a dramatic widening of peace agreements. We're working on this with enthusiasm. Besides the freeing of hostages and defeat of Hamas, there is a window of opportunity here that we must not miss for even one day.
As all of this is going on, we also have Steve Witkoff, President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, talking about maybe expanding the Abraham Accords. Listen to this.
We think we're going to have some pretty big announcements on countries that are now coming into the Abraham Peace Accords. And we're hoping for normalization across an array of countries that maybe people would have never contemplated would come in.
Of course, nobody would have predicted that Trump could have pulled off the Abraham Accords in the first place. Do you think that it's possible that we could see an expansion of them?
Oh, I think you'll see an expansion. You'll see it quite quickly. You know, before Iran unleashed Hamas against Israel on October 7, 2023, Saudi Arabia and Israel were very, very close to a deal. They both said so publicly. And that's why Iran unleashed this. They wanted a war between Israel and Arab countries. But now that Iran has been completely and utterly, militarily, politically, diplomatically, economically, financially, defanged, there's really no incentive for any other country to do anything other than peace in the Middle East, peace and prosperity.
Benjamin Netanyahu is, according to many leaks that are carefully calibrated in Israeli media about what's cooking behind the scenes, the talk is about normalization deals with countries in the region, something bigger, something more grandiose, something that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu can claim as a win while sidestepping the issue of Gaza, of Palestine in general. And when it comes to Gaza, according to some reports, we're talking about a ceasefire, about an end to Hamas rule, perhaps even Arab participation in ruling over Gaza, but certainly ending the idea of Palestinian statehood. And that would serve Netanyahu's domestic purposes, because already we've heard commentary from the Israeli Minister of Finance who said that if in exchange for making peace or normalizing relations with Arab countries, Israel would have to accept a Palestinian state, the minister doesn't think that that's worth it.
How much do the Abraham Accords that were established in the president's first term now lay the groundwork? Is that the template, and does that expand?
Well, one of the president's key objectives is that the Abraham Accords be expanded, that more countries come into it, and we are working on that on my team and in coordination with the Secretary of State and the entire State Department.
We're working on Gaza, trying to get it taken care of.
Prior to President Trump's remarks, we sat down with a former agent for Shin Bet, Israel's equivalent of ASIO.
This supposed agreement by Netanyahu to end it within 2 weeks of those strikes.
Yeah.
Do you believe that he has done that?
Impossible. Yeah, 100%. He said, I want to go to take this victory over Iran, and when Iran is weak now, and I want to move forward.
Donald Trump, however, has not ruled out striking Iran again if Tehran is found to be enriching uranium to worrisome levels.
Would you consider bombing the country again?
Without question, absolutely.
That's where we were in 2020. We had Iran on their heels with backbreaking sanctions. Biden came in and he gave it away. I mean, he gave the mullahs, hundreds of millions of dollars. He turned his back on Israel. He made America weak, and the Abraham Accords, not surprisingly, went nowhere. But now we're back to that same place. We have a very strong alliance, and Iran is weak. And I would expect, watch Steve Witkoff. He's very talented. I would watch the Abraham Accords closely. I think they will expand to a number of likely and less likely Muslim nations in the region.
The president and his team, namely Special Envoy Witkoff, continue to be in communication with the Iranians and especially our Gulf and Arab partners in the region to come to an agreement with Iran. As for our alliance with the State of Israel and that friendship and that partnership between the United States and the State of Israel, I would argue it has never been stronger. And we see a new era in which perhaps some of these Gulf and Arab states can sign on to the Abraham Accords. That was one of the president's most signature accomplishments in his first term, and he'd like to see more of those countries sign on in this second term. And so we look forward to sustaining a long and durable peace in the region, and the president wants to do that through a diplomatic solution. But as he proved on Saturday night, he's not afraid to use strength if we need to do it.
But Iran coming out with a new threat here overnight that I want to read for you. This is from Iran's foreign minister. They say that the great and powerful Iranian people who showed the world that the Israeli regime had no choice but to run to daddy to avoid being flattened by our missiles do not take kindly to threats and insults. That statement goes on to say that if the Israelis or the United States continues to threaten them, they're prepared to show their real capabilities and hit back.
Very quickly, I want to put this up because you talk about the Iranians being untrustworthy. Here's the Iranian parliament chanting an old phrase. Watch. I mean, there you go. Death to Israel, death to America. It's kind of the same old stuff, and this is today. And you know, you talk about the proxies, right? Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis.
Now, clearly, there's been a lot going on in this region in recent days, and today an old war front flared up with Israeli air forces striking southern Lebanon.
The Assad regime in Syria is gone. Syria is having talks with Israel for the first time in 25 years. The Houthis are not messing with us anymore. So, you know, Iran can yell death to America, but no one else is joining them. They're increasingly isolated, and I think that gets us to a good place. Now, with President Trump and Netanyahu, look, they just went through a war together, right? They each staked their political capital. They staked their place in history on the outcome of these 12 days in June. They looked each other in the eye. They said, can you deliver what we need? And each performed flawlessly. And now, you know, the president says to Bibi, I'll talk to you in a couple of days. And he says, well, I'm a little jammed up. I got to sit in court and get cross-examined for 6 hours. And I think that's what prompted the president to say, you got to be kidding. I mean, you're running this incredible operation, and you're being dragged into court. And of course, the president knows better than anybody how the weaponization of the justice system could work. He sees the same thing in Israel.
This group has the ability to work together to create a historic opportunity for the Palestinian people and the people of this region. Some people have mockingly called this effort the deal of the century, but at its core, it is not just about making a deal. In fact, this effort is better referred to as the opportunity of the century, if leadership has the courage to pursue it. For a moment, imagine a new reality in the Middle East. Imagine a bustling commercial and tourist center in Gaza and the West Bank where international businesses come together and thrive. Imagine the West Bank as a blossoming economy full of entrepreneurs, engineers, scientists, and business leaders. Imagine people and goods flowing quickly and securely throughout the region as economics become more integrated and people become more prosperous. Over the next 2 days, I want us all to keep in mind the following question. Should we find reason to stay with the status quo, a broken system that favors few at the expense of many, or should we push together to find new solutions and fight for a brighter future filled with opportunity and hope? I know which one I want to choose.